At this point in my life, I've attempted the Gallon Challenge, the Waffle House Challenge, and a bunch of other food-related nonsense. But there's been one challenge that's always piqued my interest, and tonight on the Studio Review, I take on that challenge. Back in 2004, a few students at NC State dared each other to run the 2.5 miles to the local Krispy Kreme, eat a dozen donuts, and then run the 2.5 miles back to campus. And thus, the challenge was born. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of competing in the 19th annual running of the Krispy Kreme Challenge. And it's evolved into a whole event with road closures, timing chips, the whole shebang. It's also been named a bucket list race by Runner's World magazine. And I should be clear here, the goal wasn't for me to win the race because people have finished in under 30 minutes, which means they're running at like a 5-minute mile pace. And if you remember from the Taco Bell documentary, I'm not exactly cranking out 5-minute miles these days. I just wanted to complete the challenge, and to do that, you need to finish your donuts and make it back to the start in under an hour. So I set a goal for myself of finishing in 45 minutes and not throwing up. In addition to that time goal, I had a personal score to settle with the city of Raleigh. Raleigh was where I ran my first marathon back in 2014, and it did not go well. It was way hillier and way hotter than any conditions I had trained in, and I had to stop at the medical tent at mile 13 because I was underprepared and overconfident. I probably wouldn't have finished that race at all if it weren't for a kind stranger named Vance who walked the entire second half of the marathon with me. Here's us at the finish line. Brothers. Anyways, Raleigh and I had an axe to grind, and I was not going to let her beat me again. On the night before the race, I grabbed a burrito to fuel up. I know I've mentioned this before, but some people think you need to leave room for an eating challenge, but my theory is that you've got to keep your stomach big. The morning of the race finally arrived, and it was really cold, but I was feeling good. I had been training for this day. In the months leading up to the race, I ran. I ate donuts. I also ran while eating donuts. You don't actually have to do that for the challenge. I just thought it would be funny. I ate even more donuts. Okay, maybe I focused a little more on the donut part than the running part, but in preparation, I ate 4 donuts in under a minute. So I knew that hypothetically, I could finish a dozen in 3 to 4 minutes. On the other hand, the ones that I ate in practice were hot off the conveyor belt, so they were soft and easy to chew. And I knew that the ones that I'd eat during the challenge would almost certainly not be fresh. So I decided to allot 5 minutes to eat the donuts, which would leave about 40 minutes to finish the 5 miles. So right around an 8-minute mile pace. It was finally go time. Time to take on the challenge and make sure that I could leave Raleigh with my dignity, unlike last time. I took the first mile easy and just had fun with it. I knew from my training that it was a lot easier to start slow and then pick up the pace rather than starting fast and trying to hold that pace. There weren't any mile markers, but according to my watch, I ran that first mile around an 8:30 pace. Perfect. Some people have said that you should go as fast as you can the first 2.5 miles and then just do whatever it takes to survive the final 2.5. Not me. I decided beforehand that I didn't want to try to scarf down all those donuts while I was also trying to catch my breath. So the plan was steady on the way out, fast on the way back. Just past Indiana Jones. Means I'm not going to get hit by a boulder anytime soon. At least I hope. Mile 2 went just as well as mile 1. It was tempting to pick up the pace for that second mile, but I kept an eye on my heart rate and slowed it down a little bit. There were some downhills that I knew would be uphills on the way back, about 7:55 for that second mile. I covered that next half mile extra slow so I'd be ready to eat. I rolled up to the halfway point with spirits high and fire in my heart. I will say that the scene at the Krispy Kreme was pure chaos. People were walking, standing, sitting everywhere. If you're what's called a challenger in the race, you can't leave until you show a race official your empty box of donuts, so people just parked it right in the middle of the street to eat their donuts. I fought my way through the crowd excuse me, and found a table of donut boxes and an empty space to eat them. At first, I just grabbed one donut. Rookie mistake. I immediately realized that this was going to be harder than I anticipated because my jaw was already getting tired from chewing the donut. I also realized that I hadn't grabbed any water, so I left to go find a bottle. After that first one, I started combining donuts, which seemed to be a popular tactic. My dad said he saw a guy put his box of donuts on the ground and stomp on it so they'd be flat before he started eating. 5 donuts down, no problem. I was doing pretty well time-wise too. 7 donuts in, then 9 donuts. My stomach was feeling fine, I was just starting to get worried about the time. I finished off by smashing 3 donuts together, downing them, and making my way towards the exit chute. By the time I got out of there, my eating split was around 6 minutes, a full minute longer than I had planned for. Alright, here we go.
Yeah, let's go!
Oops. 6 minutes on the donuts, that's embarrassing. I knew I'd have to hustle on the way back if I wanted to get anywhere close to 45 minutes. The first half mile back was unpleasant but manageable. The crowds were a lot thinner on the way back, so I figured I must be doing okay. I was cooking at about a 7-minute mile pace. Mile 3 started out the same way, but around mile 3.5, I really started to struggle.
I do not feel good. It's about 3.4 in.
I felt like there was a rock in my stomach. The uphills were killing me, and I was really starting to get worried. But I told myself that I couldn't let history repeat itself. Raleigh had already made a fool of me once, and I wouldn't let it happen again.
Mile and a quarter to go.
I finished mile 4 in 7:35.
That's 4.
But I was hurting.
I do not feel good. I do not feel good at all.
There would be no Vance this time around. I was all alone. It was just me versus the donuts. And finally, I got to the point where I knew that I could make it. I just had to hold on a little bit longer.
Alright, half a mile to go. Let's do this. Quarter mile to go. Time to get tough.
I could see the finish line. I just had to power through. And I crossed the finish line with a final time of 45:22, which meant that I averaged 7:51 per mile. So I'd completed the challenge and reached my goal, but as soon as I crossed the finish line, an entirely different challenge began. And that was the challenge to keep the donuts down. I could tell people around me were struggling. I tried to just film this guy laying down and accidentally caught him on camera puking. I honestly didn't know if drinking water was going to help or hurt. Once my body stopped moving, the weird feeling in my stomach just felt like it was moving higher and higher. So I found a grassy area just in case and tried to keep moving.
Boom. I thought it had passed, but I still might throw up. I'm trying to walk it off right now. Not sure if that's a good idea. Do I drink water? I don't know. Don't puke. Stay down, stay down, stay down, stay down, stay down. Mind over matter. Oh gosh, this storm feels really bad. Just gotta will my body to keep it down. All right, it's been about half an hour since I finished. For the most part, the urge to vomit has passed, although I still don't feel phenomenal and a couple dangerous burps here and there, but I think at this point it's safe to say I'm gonna keep the donuts down. Fingers crossed. Anyways, I'm sure I'll have more thoughts later, but for now, I'm gonna send it back to the desk.
I ended up in 91st place out of about 4,000 participants, which is honestly a lot better than I was expecting. Raleigh and I had settled our score and I was able to leave with my head held high. Before you go, I just want to share with you this quote that I saw on the wall of the Krispy Kreme where I bought my practice donuts. It said, "We all crave experiences that bring more joy to our lives." And I thought, dang, Krispy Kreme, ain't that the truth? So while I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to do this challenge, I do like the idea of adding things that bring joy to our lives. And despite feeling bad in the second half, this was definitely an experience that brought joy to my life. And I hope that watching it has brought you some as well. And lastly, just remember that even when it doesn't feel like it, it's gonna be okay. I'll see you soon.